Today I am here to talk about the changes in latest project management body of knowledge, 6th edition. I was asked a question about the new role of AGILE in project management professional. What should a PMP expect to learn about the AGILE role, and what are going to be the expectations in accordance with the PMBOK guide, new 6th edition? So I have written a small little article on that and I have posted it on LinkedIn as well, but I just wanted to talk about it. First of all, let me give you a brief history about PMBOK. A guide to project management body of knowledge, commonly we call it PMBOK guide, has gone through a number of iterations since the release of its first edition in 1996. We have seen a new edition popping up after every four or 5 years, and now it is time for the next changes imminent on the horizon. We are all very curiously waiting for the release of PMBOK Guide 6th edition, which is likely to be released in third quarter of year 2017. Most of the rumor mongers have even pinned their hopes in the very first week of 7th of July 2017, and some of us have even said that it is exactly going to be 7th of July. Anyways, let's see what happens. The timeline of PMBOK guide has been: the first edition came into being in 1996, second edition was in 2000, third edition 2004, fourth edition was little 5 years later, 2009, then fifth edition was in 2011, and the latest edition is going to be released in the third quarter of 2017. So this one has taken a little more time because they are making a lot of changes in it, but it is now ready and it is just going to be released after a couple of months. Earlier than 1996, the body of knowledge did not exist in form and shape it is now. It used to be just a guideline document or a special report, not more than about 70 pages or so, which did provide the outline framework for the project management, but was not published in a book form or as a standard. The project to develop that report was first initiated in 1981, and in 84, the said special report was published, which was called Ethics, Standards and Accreditation Committee Final Report. That was the shape of the standard before the first edition. It was back in 1996 that the very first edition of PMBOK guide was released. Since then it has gone through a number of evolutions, always for the good naturally. The guide has increased from a 176-page document to a voluminous 589-page document in its fifth edition, and it is very much expected that sixth edition will be even larger than that. Some of the rumors are that PMBOK guide 6th edition would be released in 2 volumes, or you can say 2 separate standards. The first one is the standard for project management, and the other one would be called the guide to project management body of knowledge. I'll talk a bit about that as well a little later, but let's first talk about the PMP certification, how that gets affected. Interestingly, PMP certification was introduced much before first edition PMBOK guide was ever released. It was back in 1984, just after the special report. 1983, the special report was published, and in 1984, the PMP certification was introduced, and the only document existing at that point was that special report titled Ethics, Standards and Accreditation Committee Final Report. Founding members and veteran PMPs like Eric Janet, who was probably the very first PMP in the whole wide world, had no standard or a PMBOK guide to follow, just a special report of a couple of pages. I had the opportunity of meeting and discussing with Eric Janet personally when he was alive, and he told me how difficult it was to prepare for PMP exam in those days when exam questions could be created out of anywhere or any source on project management. Eric Janet is not alive anymore, and PMI has instituted an award in his name, which is called PMI Eric Janet Project Management Excellence Award. Anyways, PMP exam is affected by any change in edition of PMBOK guide, and the exam pattern is revised based on content outline. This exam content outline, which we usually call ECO, is revised in one other condition, and that is when PMI conducts a PMP role delineation study, which is called RDS, which encompasses the current market demand of PMPs. This study to measure change in role of PMP happen after every 5 to 7 years, and PMP exam goes through another change in case market expectations change or evolve, to cater for which PMP exam content outline and PMP questions are revised. Initially, PMI used to give one complete year to the candidates to prepare for the new exam content outline after the ECO has been changed to write their PMP exam. For last 2 editions, the exam changeover time has been decreased to 6 months. Again, there are rumors that this time the exam changeover time will be further decreased to 3 to 6 months, because PMI would like to start the PMP testing based on 6th edition by the start of 2018, most likely in the first week of January 2018. PMI is very clear in its instructions to exam takers that PMBOK guide is not the syllabus, but a reference book or a standard. Exam is based on PMP exam content outline, and question makers rely on this document to prepare PMP questions. Moreover, they can refer to any latest book or material on project management for these questions, and PMBOK guide may not be enough to pass a certification exam, and that is a point you must make. You must understand, it is not only PMBOK which is the core material and the only material for passing the PMP exam. How does the PMBOK look like? So far, nobody has actually seen the PMBOK guide 6th edition, but the cover picture, has been released. One of the, you can say a pirated version or a leaked image, which I don't think that is genuine. But anyways, a cover picture is available to us. The new version is structurally similar to the 5th edition, but conceptually many things have changed, deleted, or added to the new edition. For PMP applicants, there are some instructions. Those preparing for to appear in PMP exam based on the new edition must follow the concepts as given in the 6th edition. All those intending to appear in PMP exam before the exam change must plan to appear latest by 31st of December 2017. I would very strongly recommend you write your exam at least 3 months before the exam change date, that is 31 December 2017. As the last few months, normally the last 3 months, will see a lot of seat reservations for PMP exam, and the pass percentile will also go up, making it almost impossible for many to compete and pass the exam. It will be safe to fix end of September as your target date for passing the exam. So plan backwards from that date for your preparations and application process. Next question is, what are the changes in the 6th edition? As I have mentioned earlier, there are many conceptual but not very structural changes in the new edition. The number of knowledge areas remain the same as 10, yet the number of processes have increased from 47 to 49 due to additions, amendments, and even deletions of some of the processes. The volume of the standard is also likely to increase and may be released in 2 separate volumes. So we will be seeing 2 separate standards. One would be the standard for project management, and the other would be a guide to project management body of knowledge. The standard of project management would generally be, if you want to relate it with the 5th edition, the first 3 chapters of 5th edition of PMBOK guide would be enlarged to form this standard for project management. It would have, first section would be including 3 chapters on the key concepts and the contextual information, and then there would be 5 more sections, each corresponding to each process group. So there would be a total of 8 chapters in a standard for project management. But you see, it did not talk about the body of about the knowledge areas. The guide, a guide to project management body of knowledge, will exclusively, cover the 10 project management knowledge areas, and there would be 10 sections in that book. As I said, section 1 of the standard discusses key concepts and conceptual information about the project management, while section 2 through 6 of this standard provide definitions for each of the 5 process groups, describe all the processes within those process groups. It also describes the key benefits, inputs and outputs for each project management process. This standard serves as the foundation and framework for the PMBOK guide. So this was the section 1. This was the standard for project management. A guide to project management body of knowledge, it will expand on the information in the earlier standard the standard for project management, by providing a more in-depth discussion of the context, environment and influences on project management. In addition, PMBOK guide provides descriptions of the inputs and outputs, identifies tools and techniques, and discusses key concepts and emerging trends associated with each knowledge area. PMI has also come up with a new assessment mechanism for the PMPs, and it also expects new PMPs to be prepared on that, and that is called PMI Tailor Triangle. Most of you might be aware of it, or you can view it from PMI website. PMI has recently started this new mechanism to assess competence of the project manager's role, and all future acquisitions of professional development units by PMPs would be governed now by the new PMI Tailor Triangle, which is also reflected in new edition of PMBOK guide. It is assumed that 6th edition will contain a new chapter on the role of project manager, which discusses the PMI Tailor Triangle and the skill sets organizations demand that make project managers more competitive and relevant in 3 areas: technical project management, leadership, and third is the strategic and business management. So these are the 3 areas a project manager needs to develop, and PMBOK 6th edition talks about it and is aligned to this way of assessment. The changes in the knowledge areas, there are 2 changes. 2 of the knowledge areas have been renamed or changed. Project time management is no more going to be called project time management. It is renamed as project schedule management, and that is a change for the good, because we used to make a schedule management plan in it, we used to make a schedule baseline in it, so that is more sane to call it schedule management. Project human resource management knowledge area has been eliminated. Rather, it has been included into a larger knowledge area, and that would be now called as project resource management. As far as project schedule management is concerned, it is simply a matter of renaming. But project resource management is a major change, as it no more concerns itself only with the human resources, but encompassed all kinds of resources in this new knowledge area. By including all other resources, the behavior of this knowledge area has also changed. As a process to control those resources had to be included in monitoring and controlling process group, which was otherwise not there. There was no control of resources otherwise. Now there is a control resource process in the monitoring and control process group. Similarly, estimate activity resources, which was earlier in the project time management, or you can call it the new schedule management, is no more in that area, that knowledge area. It is now going to be part of the project resource management. So the process estimate activity resources is no more in time management. It is now going to be part of project resource management. There are 3 new processes PMI has included in the 6th edition. One is manage project knowledge. Manage project knowledge is an integration knowledge area process, and it is added into execution process group. Previously, we used to have only one process of integration in executing process group, and that was manage project. Now we have the manage project knowledge as well. Then we have a new process for risk added into execution. So the knowledge area is risk, process group is execution, and the name of the new process is implement risk responses. Earlier, there was no such process which was responsible for implementing the risk responses. We created risk response plan that it will automatically be implemented by the project management plan. Therefore, there was no implement responses earlier. Now it is. And as I said before, control resources has been introduced in monitoring and control, and that forms part of the resource management knowledge area. So these are the three additions. Then what are the processes which have changed? In addition, following process names have been changed, like a new process, plan resource management, is introduced in project resource management, which is a new knowledge area naturally, and it supersedes the plan human resource management knowledge process. Naturally, the human resource management knowledge area has been taken over by the plan resource management. Previously, we used to have plan human resource management. Now it is going to be a new process, plan resource management. Similarly, as I said before, estimate activity resources process has moved from old time management to new project resource management knowledge area, but it still exists in the planning process group. Third is the acquire project resources. This process has been added in execution under the resource management knowledge area. Previously, when it was human resource management, it was called acquire team. Now we are not only acquiring the team, but we are acquiring all the resources. Therefore, acquire project resources is the new name for a process, and acquire team is no more to be seen anywhere in execution. Then is the develop team and the manage team. These were the two older processes in human resource management plan in execution. They still stay, but now they are part of the project resource management knowledge area, still in execution. As described earlier, there is no an addition of the manage project knowledge process in monitoring and control. As I said before, this is an integration management knowledge area process, and this is, as I said, this is in execution. As described earlier also, there is yet another addition of implement risk responses, which I just talked about, and that is related to the project risk management, and it is in execution. This is a new process. Close procurements was a process in closing that belonged to the procurement management knowledge area. That has now been eliminated. This is no more. Now in the closing process group, there is only one process, and that is a close project or phase. So it tantamounts to the function of close procurement process has now been captured within either the control procurements or the close project or phase. And control procurements is already existing in monitoring and control. The name of the plan stakeholder management process has been changed to plan stakeholder engagement. Debated earlier also that stakeholders cannot be managed, they can only be engaged, and still PMBOK 5th edition, at some places it said stakeholder management and other places it said stakeholder engagement, and now we understand that that has been explicitly changed. All places it is going to be the stakeholder engagement. So the plan stakeholder management is now the plan stakeholder engagement. Again, another big change is the perform quality assurance process from the quality management knowledge area, which was existing in execution, is no more, and it has been renamed as manage quality. It is expected that manage quality will exactly be doing the same thing what quality assurance did, but it was for keeping everything into the same language. They have converted the name into manage quality. Then three processes have been renamed. They were initially controls, now they are monitors. Like cost communication has been renamed, I would say the process control communications have been renamed as monitor communications. Process control risks is now monitor risks. Control stakeholder engagement is now monitor stakeholder engagement. So we see these are the areas which cannot be controlled. This is the new understanding of PMI, that communication risk and stakeholder engagement cannot be controlled. They can only be monitored. Project management plan and project documents have also streamlined. Previously we understand that we had the project management plan and project documents, and if some of you do not understand what these are, I will just simply define. Project management plan includes all the subsidiary or component plans like scope management plan, schedule management plan and all that, and also the three baselines: scope, time and cost. Rest everything we create during the planning, all the documents, tables and drawings and everything, that goes into project documents. And as we move on with the project in execution and monitoring and control, whenever there is a change or otherwise these documents have to be amended, they are amended, and the amended form of these documents are called project management plan update and project documents updates. PMI has pretty much standardized and clarified that these two terms, project management plan and project documents, in PMBOK 5th edition, but still at many places the project management plan components or subsidiary plans were mentioned as specific inputs to relevant execution or monitoring and controlling processes, whereas at other places just project management plan was mentioned. This caused a lot of confusion and needed to be standardized. In the 6th edition, PMI has taken care of this problem, and the components and subsidiary plans in project management plan are no more mentioned as input or output as or as updates separately to any process. Wherever there is something going from any of the subsidiary plans into a process, that would be simply called project management plan. So this is left to the understanding of the reader that which specific subsidiary plan he expects to get into this. Moreover, when something gets updated, no matter which plan gets updated, which subsidiary plan gets updated, we will just say, there are so many project documents. At some of the places in 5th edition, it was the specific name of that document was mentioned in input or output. Now it is not going to be like that. Project documents will be input to the processes, and it will not exactly be telling which document it is. It is up to the reader to understand which document he wants to update, and if it is updated, this will simply be called the project document updates. So this abnormality has been also reduced. New focus on AGILE, something about that. PMI has introduced iterative life cycle in 4th edition. It was further elaborated and emphasized in 5th edition by putting spotlight on AGILE practices. With the rising trend of AGILE in industry and organizations, PMI has been busy researching on the possibility of wide usage of AGILE practices in industries other than IT, where it is already very popular and was rather conceived. By the mere fact that PMI is recognizing AGILE practices, it projects the wide acceptability in project management in general and its usage beyond IT industry. 6th edition will also continue and even enlarge the focus on AGILE practices, but it should not be taken as an ultimate acceptance of AGILE in all industries. It is rather opening doors for new opportunities. PMI has made specific arrangements for including AGILE practices in each and every knowledge area, and a section has been added for AGILE tools and techniques in each of the relevant chapters. This will help project management practitioners to see the usage of AGILE practices more visibly through available AGILE tools and techniques. An appendix has also been added to the standard of project management on AGILE and other iterative practices. This is an enlargement on earlier mention of AGILE life cycle in the 5th edition. Lastly, what should be the AGILE expectations from a PMP after 6th edition? As mentioned earlier, PMI has been trying to open the door to AGILE practices in project management for some time now. In the 6th edition, they have made the door wide open, and more possibilities are now open to the project managers from any field to experiment with AGILE tools and techniques. This is done to break out of the clutches of waterfall model generally followed in traditional project management. Although AGILE is a baby of IT, but still we have seen that many useful practices have been adopted in industry, which actually originated due to advancement in IT. Agile is just such kind of advancement which has already proven its success in software development, is now making other industry. PMBOK guide is not a mandatory expectation from a project management professional, but a possibility of using discretion in other fields if possible. Agile will not apply to other industries in exactly the same manner as it applies to IT. It will have to be reinvented and tailored to fit any industry it will be used in. There might be a possibility of new models and techniques being invented for specific areas of usage in various industries. Basic principle which had to be followed would be conformance to the Agile Manifesto, with a slight amendment that it would not have a mention of working software but the working deliverable of the specific product or project. It is very much expected that PMI will soon come up with a separate standard on agile practices, which will also be very useful for PMI-ACP certification. Anyone preparing for PMP certification on new edition will have to have enough grasp of all the agile tools and techniques applicable to all 10 knowledge areas and 5 process groups. That essentially means that there will be more questions on agile practices from 1st January 2018 onwards in the PMP exam. I can foresee that over next few iterations of PMBOK guide editions, Agile will be the way of life and waterfall or traditional project management will be completely buried. But this is not happening immediately. It will take some time, like a decade or maybe more. Of the research machinery working tirelessly to find ways to apply Agile in other industries like telecommunications, construction, engineering, government, and many more areas. So that is my input as far as the use of Agile after 6th edition and the changes in the 6th edition are concerned. I hope this discussion would be useful for you and you will benefit from it. So that was my input. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.